Well, we get to the end of John chapter 11 this morning, and this is a real hinge point in John's gospel. From this point forward, we really see the momentum building towards Jesus' death and resurrection. So far, Jesus has been really shown who he is. He's the Christ, fully God, fully man, the one who has come to save the world. And he's shown that through 7 different signs, and many have come to the ultimate goal of John's gospel here, that we would believe that Jesus is the Christ, and that believing in his name we would have life. We saw that with Martha, with the resurrection of her brother Lazarus last week, and others follow on at the end of that little narrative. We see that Mary believes, and many others come to believe that Jesus is the Christ. But then another group don't. There's another group who have the opposite response. The religious leaders of the day, people who are called Pharisees and Sadducees, they come together and actually their intent to put Jesus to death. They want to get rid of him. See, Jesus' ministry is causing some attention. It's drawing some interest from not just those who would believe, but from Rome as well, who are the governing empire at that time. And they don't want to risk Israel being overthrown by Rome. They want to rule God's people. And so they come up with a plan to get rid of Jesus. One of the Sadducees, the high priest Caiaphas, pipes up and he says this: "Do you not understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, not that the whole nation should perish?" Now, what he says is incredible. Now, what he is saying in his mind is, it's better that Jesus should die. It's better that one man should die rather than the whole of Israel be overthrown by Rome and we all die. But actually, John goes on to say this. He did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. Here's what we see and what's just happened. Caiaphas is saying what he thinks is the best thing to do from a human perspective to protect his rule and protect his position as a leader amongst the people and to protect the nation of Israel. But actually God is speaking through his enemy Caiaphas. Caiaphas is the very one who wants to put Jesus to death, and God uses him as a vehicle to say exactly what he's going to do through his son Jesus. Yes, Jesus will indeed die, but not just for ethnic Israel. He's going to die for all of the children of God, so that none of the children of God will perish, but actually we will have eternal life with Jesus. This is incredible. This is what theologians would call compatibility. So you have at play God's sovereignty, God's sovereign plan to save a people to himself. And then you have human moral responsibility. And you see that in Caiaphas here. Like Caiaphas has a plan. He wants to put Jesus to death, but actually God is using Caiaphas's plan to bring about the redemption of his people. Isn't that wonderful? That God would use even those who were opposed to him to bring about his glorious purpose. Folks, as the momentum starts to build towards Jesus' death over the next few chapters, we need to see that at every step, right from here, right from this point of the leaders scheming together to start really concocting a plan for his death, right from that point, in fact, ever since time began, God has been in control. God has ordained. It was the will of the Father that his Son would perish. This is not out of his control. And if the very death of his Son is not outside of his control, then every detail of everything that is going on in our lives is not outside of his control. And is all focused towards one goal: that God would be glorified by many believing in his name, and as we believe, was receiving life. Folks, let's be comforted. Let's be assured. Let's be emboldened by the sovereignty of God, that he is in control of all things, not even just the good things, but also the plans of wicked men. God is able to use them for his glory and for our good. We see that in Caiaphas. We see that at the cross. And that is true for every situation that is going on in our lives. God is gloriously bringing about his wonderful purpose to gather his children together, not just from ethnic Israel, but from every corner of the earth, we would see that his Son is the Christ, and that believing that he is the Christ, we would have life in his name for all eternity.